What if Kratos, the ghost of Sparta, was your dad? That's right. You and your brother were raised by the infamous Spartan warrior who killed hundreds of enemies, including an entire army of centaurs. With that being said, you and your brother would have been pretty well protected growing up, but there was one small issue. Kratos was pretty pissed off at just about everything, all the time. So he would probably pass down his anger issues on to you and your brother. Welcome to the family, I guess. Being raised by Kratos wouldn't have been easy, but could you handle it? Let's find out. For more awesome videos, be sure to stay tuned, and we'll start with the first question. Have you ever skinned an animal alive? If the answer is no, then congratulations, because you've officially passed the first test to being Kratos' son. In God of War, Kratos had to skin a deer alive so that his son Atreus could learn how to hunt. Now, this might seem like a crazy thing for a father to do, but it's really not that bad. After all, they were kind of in a survival situation in that particular scenario. Still, this is definitely something that Kratos would pass down to his kid. And if you can't skin a deer alive when your dad asks you to, then you are officially disqualified from being Kratos' son. Hey, don't worry though. Even if you can't skin a deer alive, you're still welcome to join the Sparta army and fight against the Persians. Just kidding. No Spartans were ever Persian. They were Greek. Anyway, you get the idea. Do you hate the Persian Empire? Well, if you don't, then you definitely can't be Kratos' son, because let's face it, the Persian Empire was pretty evil. I mean, their king, Xerxes, wanted to conquer the entire known world. So yeah, no wonder Kratos would want his son to hate the Persians as much as he did. But wait, before you go off and declare war on the Persian Empire yourself, remember, Kratos hated the Persians as much as he did because he was forced to fight alongside them. Against his will, Kratos was turned into a Persian slave after the destruction of his original Spartan army. He was forced to fight in the Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans fought against an invading Persian army of over 200,000 men. The Spartans held off the Persians for several days, until King Leonidas decided to make a run for it with a small group of elite warriors. That plan failed, and Leonidas and his 147 surviving warriors were all killed. Kratos, however, was not present for any of that. See, while most of the Spartan warriors stayed behind to fight the Persians, Kratos had already fled to the mountains with his wife and child. He didn't want anything to do with war anymore. Unfortunately, though, Kratos' luck would eventually run out, and he would eventually be captured by the Persians and turned into a slave. This is the point in the story where Kratos would officially turn from a good guy into a bad guy. To say the least, Kratos' Persian experience wasn't exactly pleasant. So if you hate the Persians as much as Kratos does, then you might just have what it takes to be his son. Can you sacrifice anyone without hesitation? If the answer is yes, then you may be worthy of becoming Kratos' son. But if you answered no, then unfortunately, you will never understand the kind of darkness that's inside Kratos' heart. I'm sorry. There is just no way a person could be Kratos' son if they could end sacrifice someone without hesitation. In fact, Kratos sacrificed multiple people during his quest for revenge against the gods. And it just kept piling on more and more sacrifices. I mean, Kratos even sacrificed his own mother, which had to have been one of the hardest things he's ever done in his life. So if you can't even sacrifice a stranger, then you'd never be able to live up to the legacy of the Ghost of Sparta. Did you know that Kratos actually has 3 sons? That's right. You would have had some competition growing up. Kratos' oldest son was called Calliope, and he was killed shortly after birth by the god Ares. I guess you could say that Ares was jealous because Calliope was the son of Kratos and the goddess Callisto. Ares didn't want another demigod running around causing trouble, so he snuffed Calliope out pretty quickly. That's right, we just got Ghost of Sparta Jr. killed by a god of war. So maybe it's better if you're not related to Kratos. Then again, you would have had another shot at becoming Kratos' son. If you weren't killed by Ares, there was always Deimos. Sadly though, Deimos was also taken away from Kratos far too early in his life. When Kratos was sent to Sparta to kill the tyrant king Minos, he was forced to leave his sons behind. It wasn't long after that the Furies took Deimos away from Kratos. Yeah, that doesn't sound very fatherly of the gods to do, does it? So if you managed to survive all those tragedies that Kratos' other sons didn't, then you might just have what it takes to become his son. But one last question remains. Can you take a life with your bare hands? If you answered yes, then congratulations, because you are officially the spitting image of Kratos. Seriously though, you're probably wondering how you would even begin to answer that question. Well, here's the thing. Kratos was literally born for war. The ghost of Sparta was a warrior since the moment he could walk. As a Spartan, Kratos was trained to fight and kill from the time he was just a baby. His entire purpose in life was to serve the Spartan army and kill anyone who threatened his homeland. So it is safe to say that Kratos could take a life with his bare hands long before he ever picked up his iconic blades of chaos. What's more important, though, is that Kratos used his skills as a warrior to protect those he cared about. He wasn't just some mindless killing machine. He had a heart under all that muscle. If you can take a life with your bare hands, then you're ready to become Kratos' son. You feel ready to become Kratos' son. The next step is to endure a whole lot of pain. Here's a spoiler alert. Being a demigod is painful. Like, seriously painful. I am talking about the kind of pain that makes you want to gouge out your own eyes and pull out your own beard. Literally. Demigods have to endure a bunch of pain in order to fully control their powers. Kratos, for example, had to plunge his blades of chaos into his own flesh in order to prove himself to the gods. And let us not forget that Kratos also burned his entire body in order to escape the clutches of the god Loki. But even with all that pain, Kratos never once thought about giving up. He knew that if he wanted to be strong enough to save his son, he had to be willing to suffer through anything. And that's exactly what you would need to do as Kratos' son. If you can't handle pain, then you'll never be able to become a powerful warrior. Now we have finally reached the final question. Are you immortal? If the answer is yes, then congratulations, because you are now officially Kratos' son. But if the answer is no, then you will never be able to understand the burdens of being the ghost of Sparta. Here's the deal. Kratos isn't technically immortal, but he might as well be. The god Zeus tried to kill Kratos a few times, but he always ended up coming back to life somehow. And hey, don't forget that Kratos is also resurrected after being burned alive by Loki. Basically, as long as Kratos keeps killing everyone around him, he's pretty much immortal. In a way, that means that if you're not immortal, you can never truly be Kratos' son. You might be his adopted son, but you will never have the power to raise an army of Sparta's elite warriors and lead them into battle against the gods themselves. So how many points do you have? If you scored 3 points, then congratulations, because you are officially Kratos' son. You have the honor of fighting alongside your father in the Spartan army. But if you scored 2 points, then you're probably better off staying in the Spartan village and training to be a warrior. Scoring 1 point means that you're probably better off joining the Navy. And if you scored 0 points, then you might as well pack your bags and head to Persia. Now, before you go, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, mythology. And I'll see you guys next time. Until then, stay awesome, stay educated, and I'll see you soon.